kind of shit.
So Warner, I'm so excited about your new show in Switzerland.
Oh
Are you
yeah,
excited?
yeah, yeah.
So I'm going to pepper you with questions about painters who may or may not have influenced you.
Okay,
Here's number one.
all right.
And I just want you to go stream of consciousness and like whatever's the first thing off the top of your head.
Okay.
Mark Rothko.
Oh yeah, I loved him ever since I was a kid.
Hmm.
Certain of his more than others. More the ones with more light in them I love the most.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them got a little muddy, and
Mm-hmm.
some look like burnt toast.
Yep.
But as a colorist, it's just and his technique of staining canvas and all that, I loved it a lot.
Did you get that staining thing from him, or?
Well, I don't know. That technique's been around a long time.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, it happens if you thin the paint out. But he had sort of different methods. But I use a lot of very thin coats. My paint's thinned out like some of the darks may have 6 or 7 different layers.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. What did you think of his color reactions, or how did that particular dimension of painting affect you?
Oh, some of them I really love. They're just dripping with light. I guess the more dramatic ones, but even the dark ones I really love too. Just, they're very expressive.
Do you think there's any other painter who had as much influence on your color as Rothko? You mentioned Keith Boyle.
Oh yeah, yeah, a bit. Yeah, his sure. Yeah, he talked about color a lot. I'm sure I learned a lot from him.
And his work? Used
Yeah,
color?
yeah, I loved his work.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, most of my teachers were abstract painters.
So in your work, I see a lot of the color reactions that I notice in Rothko's work,
Oh well, thanks.
but a lot more complexity, like there'll be 12 different colors in one of your paintings interacting. And I wondered how you made that jump from the color reactions in Rothko to the degree of orchestration of color in your work.
Well, it's different. He reduced everything to like a single sign of a single image, a iconic thing, and I haven't really gone there with these. It doesn't seem to work very well, and they're probably more similar to his earlier work. I have mixed feelings about that kind of reductivism anyway, because
Mm-hmm.
in some ways it seems like it may have been a dead end in a way. It's so final. It's once you got there, what do you do with it? And I know both Rothko and Jackson Pollock complained about in their later writings that kind of reduction. It was kind of limiting, and kind of a dead end.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Were you influenced to find a form of painting that would not hit that dead end?
Not originally. I wouldn't have mind. I still may find something like that, but it's just it hasn't been that. I'm not really doctrinaire about any of that stuff, and it'll go whatever direction it wants to go. I'm free to do something very reductive or something complex.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not bound by any one particular thing. I paint soft or hard or whatever. There's a lot of freedom.
That's good. Because you've said that, you haven't hit a cul-de-sac or a dead end in your work, or have you?
I have the last month or so. Yeah, I'll get out of that.
What do you think that's about? Do you have anything you want to say about that, or like?
I don't know. I've been painting for 45 years, and I think I just need a break or something.
Yes, I think so. Like a vacation?
Yeah, something like that.
Mm-hmm. Let's go back and hit some other names. Leonardo da Vinci.
Oh yeah, I like him a lot. His gorgeous line, Yeah, I like them.
What about that use of thin glazes
Yeah,
and the
right.
lensing effect and
Yeah.
your compulsion towards light?
Yeah, you can see it in the Mona Lisa, which I really love.
Mm-hmm.
And layers of thin glazing it is, and yet gorgeous line, uh, really good colors.
Mm-hmm.
I love Leonardo.
Botticelli.
Yes, that's he was sort of the one person that brought me back into art. I was into it in high school and stuff, and I was very painterly and did a lot of drip paintings. And stuff.
Really?
Yeah.
You did painterly goopier.
Yeah, we bought a house that had a whole cabinet full of enamels, spray paints, and even some. I had a bunch of canvases, and I've done tons of drip painting and stuff in high school, but it felt like a dead end after a while.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it felt like I needed something a little more deliberate, or something more willful, less accidental.
Yeah. How did you find the Botticelli, or how did you get back into that?
Oh, yeah, my sister gave me a poster of Birth of Venus, and I hung it over my bed, and I'd stare at it for a minute, upside down, and I just fell in love with his sense of line. He's got the most gorgeous line.
He does have the most beautiful sense of line since Leonardo or something.
Incredible proportions, and
Yep.
his drawings are incredible.
The best drawings ever.
And
Yeah.
his technique, again, it's sort of a stained in thin paint. And one thing I noticed is that painting aged really beautifully, and that influenced me to paint a little without a lot of heavy paint.
Do you
There's
think
no
that the
cracks
heavy
or-
paint doesn't age as well?
Yeah, there are areas on Birth of Venus where you can, if you look at the dress, he had some trouble and he was moving stuff in the, or a conservator maybe, but the paint got very thick and it's full of tiny cracks.
Yeah.
Whereas where the paint was kind of, it looks like several layers of almost stained in it, and those have aged flawlessly.
So since you use the staining method on your paintings, do you
Right, that was
think
one
your
reason.
paintings will age well?
I have no idea. It depends on how they're taken care of, but I hope so. But
Yeah.
we'll see.
Yeah. Rembrandt.
Yeah, I love his sense of light and everything. I studied him a lot, how he created light, sense of structure. I think the portrait busts especially influenced me more than the larger works.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
They're formally a little more reduced, and I can relate to it a little better.
So you've removed the figure from your work. How is it that you identify with Rembrandt, who only uses the figure almost?
Well, every artist is going to be different, with a different sensibility, and I may have a phobia about figures because I have Asperger's. I have a lot of bad memories of people.
Yeah.
And I don't feel like seeing them on my paintings. I really don't.
That's not a good memory for you, or?
Not too much. I've done them. I can do them fine, but it's just doesn't interest me. I'm interested in more of a kind of recessive, hollow space.
A recessional space?
Yeah, right. A hollow space, like a big hole in the wall where the canvas lies.
Is there any painter who influenced you in that direction? Vermeer.
Yeah, Vermeer, Rembrandt did a lot of that. It's I like the recessive kind of tactile space that, as opposed to a lot of flat brush strokes and all that. Probably because I was raised on a lot of splashy paint and I got tired of it.
So a lot of thick, expressionistic kind of painting. I mean, Willem de Kooning.
Yeah, no, that's not my sensibility. As I said, I like line.
Mm-hmm.
And
You like line.
Yeah, right. My father was an architect,
So he was making lines all the time.
Right. And I mean, line as opposed to painterly.
Right.
It's like splashes and drips just don't interest me at all. Plus, I grew up in Carmel, and there's a lot of really bad painting done with splashes and drips. So I've always been a little cynical because of that.
So that sort of sentimental painting style, the what was the Thomas Kincaid style of sentimental painting?
There's some good painters that work in that style, and I respect them, but it's just not my sensibility.
Yeah. So you said at one point that even Keith Boyle influenced you to go linear.
Yeah, right. He gave me permission to do that, and not a lot of teachers would let you. But he did it in his own abstract work, so it was fine with him.
Now, a lot of our listeners are not going to know who Keith Boyle is, and you're really one of the only people on the planet who can tell us anything about Keith Boyle at this point. Can you just give us any brief summary of who he was, the time period that you knew him?
He was at Stanford, and I think he was sort of a beatnik, semi-beatnik. He was very tall, intimidating. He did these gorgeous, large paintings. But I think he's one of the most brilliant colorists who ever existed.
Okay.
Really, and hardly anyone knows anything about him.
Yeah.
But I think he kicks New York's ass, frankly.
That's right. That's it.